coming to you live from Beyond Indigo Studios. It's Radio Beyond. And now, the woman in charge around these parts, our host, Kelly Baltzell.
Hello, everyone. How are you today? It's Friday, and it's Fun Day here. My name is Kelly Baltzell. I'm the CEO and owner of Beyond Indigo Pets, and we are talking radio today with Miss Kate Matthews, who is on our team, but she has a secret identity. It's the lovely Miss Kate, and she does radio. Welcome, Kate.
Hi, Kelly. How's it going? Thanks for having me back.
You're so welcome. I actually just think your alternative ego personality, whatever you want to talk about it, is super fun. You want to explain what you do?
Yeah, sure. So I am the lovely Miss Kate on Radio Boise. For the last 5 years, I have been volunteering with our community radio station here in Boise, Idaho. We are community run. Pretty much entirely volunteer-run radio station, operating financially through the donations of our listeners, the support of our community underwriters and supporters, some various grants and what have you. But I have been hosting a show called For Good or For Awesome for the last few years. I am actually on sabbatical this summer after 5 years of kind of nonstop party rock, but headed back in the fall. And it's really fantastic. I mean, it's a fantastic organization, first and foremost, especially as part of Boise's community and the music scene. But it's also, one of the things I love about community radio is it's truly the voice of democracy, right? I mean, we have folks from all over our community coming together to create this treasure that we have. We play music that you're not going to hear anywhere else on the dial. We play music that spans all genres from all corners of the globe. We have our hosts and our DJs come from all different walks of life, and we all come together to bring this voice to our community, and I absolutely love it. For Good or For Awesome has been focusing on, we do new music, new indie music. So anything from, anything from Low Cut Connie and Glass Animals to, stuff that is, just come out and maybe has only been heard by 1,000 people so far. It's always interesting when all of a sudden something that we have discovered becomes something that is being played on commercial radio, like Lizzo. She played Treefort Music Festival years ago when she only had a handful of singles out, most of which were not radio friendly. Where she is now, we would have never predicted 3 or 4 years ago. We may have hoped, but we wouldn't have probably thought quite to this degree. Those kind of have to start to roll off the rosters, but it's a really fantastic thing to do. I love it because I can take my son down. It's a very family-friendly environment, even though it's all kind of rock and roll and whatnot. He gets to see that part of his mom that he might not have seen otherwise, the person I was before I had a kid and am when he's not always around. It's pretty great. I started doing community radio through my college radio station up at the University of Idaho. That was KUOI, more years ago than I would like to admit to. And so that's where I got hooked into my love of radio and broadcasting. And then that sailed with me over the years as I did different stuff in the music industry. And then Radio Boise started its terrestrial broadcast in 2011. We had been online before that. And a few years later, once Nick was old enough for me to feel like I could responsibly bring him in without it being like, kids, we started going down there and doing the shows and doing the things. And it's been, it's a fantastic place to be, the other side of my life.
That is so awesome. I think people overlook radio sometimes.
Absolutely.
Don't you think? I mean, there's YouTube and there's like a gazillion.
There's so many ways to get music now. I mean, we have a show that comes on after mine called Two Ducks and a Pollywog, right? And on its promo, it's like, do you like surprises? Well, if you don't like surprises, you can just listen to that iPod of yours, right? Like, it's really easy for us to get stuck in the music that we've collected and what we're finding on Spotify and what we're finding on YouTube. And a lot of times just what is playing in commercial radio, like, because that is kind of what most people default to. Not every community is as blessed as Boise is. It took us a long time to get to this point that we were able to get this license from the FCC to broadcast. But it is technically a community service. We are a nonprofit organization. But it is, I think that more and more folks do kind of forget it's out there. But I think part of that is because everyone has been so conditioned to think it's just going to be the same thing over and over again. And all the, hey, Sunday, 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 come down for our advertising. You know, it's like the radio is there to populate between the commercials, where with community radio, the music is really the focus. And we don't even do commercials per se. It's underwriting. It's a lot more like what you might see on, you know, here on NPR or see on PBS, where it's like, you know, this is supported in part by this business, and they can't make any wild claims. We can't say that we're the best. You can't say, come on down. It's, you know, we're supported in part by Beyond Indigo Pets. You know, to learn more, visit our website or check us out on Facebook, sort of a thing. It's very straightforward. And to the point, you know, so it's not driven by that. We're not, the music that we're playing, we are choosing. It's not coming from directives from the music industry. It's not, which is something that happens in commercial radio.
All the time. All the time.
So it's, you know, it's all of us hanging out in our weird little worlds and our weird little bubbles, especially right now. Combing through our stacks and going to our resources where we're finding new music and weird music and talking to each other. And where we curate our own playlists. We come up with our own music. Nobody's telling us what to play except our hearts and our minds, right? So it's a really unique, beautiful moment, I think.
Which was the foundation of radio, if I'm wrong. I mean, I'm not a radio buff, but radio, like my grandmothers, they were born early 1900s. I mean, they're like, radio was a big thing when you got a radio.
It was a big thing. And I mean, advertising has, been a driving force in radio since the very early days. As soon as somebody was like, oh, hey, we could make some money doing this, right?
Right. Let's tee that one up.
But yeah, I mean, it took a long time to get to a point that there was a music industry as we know it now that was telling everybody what to play. You know, it took a long time before there were enough people putting out records that there was, I guess, sort of a competition over getting certain things played in certain areas at certain times. And then, of course, that started to grow up. And then there was, there's all sorts of things that go into it. You know, there have been political divisions. If you think about how long it was before you started to hear Black musicians on the radio, you started to hear, you know, rock and roll was controversial in part because of the rhythm and blues aspect that was, you know, grounded in the African community. There's a lot of that goes on. And honestly, we're at a point now that some of my favorite shows at Radio Boise are global grooves and African rhythms, you know, music that is actually coming out of Africa right now, for example, that is, you know, it is their pop, it is their contemporary, it is their answer to what happens here. And it's really fantastic to be able to see what's happening there, and not just with the different countries in Africa, but Global Grooves is bringing stuff like that in from, you know, from the Eastern Bloc and, you know, from Thailand or, you know, just the Ukraine or wherever, from all over, we're getting those sounds pulled in. You know, country music, it's not new country. It's that show's called Square Roots, which I love the geeky reference there. But, you know, it's more of that, I suppose we call that outlaw country now.
Yeah, we do.
You know, it's all over the map with what we do. We're partnered with Treefort Music Festival, which is Boise's answer to like South by Southwest. So we've got a lot of great a lot of great stuff going on. We have in-studio performances for musicians that tour through, public affairs shows that are produced locally. Just goes on and on. So I love it. It's a great place to be, right?
Right. Well, people can listen to this.
They can.
Be in Boise.
We actually have listeners from all over the world. I always get a kick out of it. I've got regular listeners from the Philadelphia area, like outside of Beyond Indigo people, from the UK, from Australia, New Zealand, all sorts of places. We get prison mail sometimes. That's always fun. But yeah, you can go to our website, radioboise.org. Up at the top, it'll say Listen Live. So you can listen to what's being broadcast in the moment. We have show archives as well, so you can go back 2 weeks at a time and find anything that's been played. You can follow along at home, in terms of what is being played. We track that in real time as well. So a lot of awesome opportunities to tune in and see what is going on at our community station. And if you don't know if you have one in your community, I would take a look. I think you might be surprised. And if you don't have one, just keep poking around, because there's some really great stations out there. But yes, I do have a radio voice. Let's see if I can pull it out.
Okay.
Of course, I usually do this, in a booth with nobody watching. Right? So let's see. Yeah, so you're listening to KRBX 89.9 FM, Caldwell, Boise. Also heard downtown on Translator Channel K228EK, 93.5 FM, Garden City. I am the lovely Miss Kate, and this is For Good or For Awesome. So, yeah.
I love it. How long do you have to work on the radio voice?
I didn't honestly even realize I had one until I was at a party. I mean, I guess I kind of did. I mean, in some ways, like, it wasn't something I honed, I worked on. It wasn't like a voice actor training situation. But I was at a party and some folks came up to me and they're like, "Oh my God, you're the lovely Miss Kate." And I'm like, "Yeah." "How do you know this?" And they're like, "We recognized your voice when you started to say something." And I was like, "Okay, that's cool. That's not something I had ever expected to have happen." But then they were like, "Oh, but right there you don't." And I'm like, "Oh, I have, okay." And so I started listening, and I do realize, I mean, it drops a little bit, the cadence changes. And anytime you're doing recording stuff, it's always nice to end on kind of like on an uplilt, right? Because it keeps people, like, I don't know how to explain it all, but yeah, it's, it all rolls into one odd little package of whatever it is. But yeah, so I guess that's kind of the thing. But it's a wonderful, like I said, it's a really wonderful community at the station itself. It's a really wonderful community asset for Boise and beyond, and that is what we kind of, that is our tag. We are, community radio for Boise and beyond. So I suppose it fits that here we are at Beyond Indigo, just part of the greater beyond, right?
Well, thank you for being here, Kate. I love learning new things every day when I talk to people about their hobbies and their passions. And this is definitely one of yours, and your whole being lights up when you talk about this passion, which is so fun to see. So thanks for sharing it, and go listen because it's free. And then, of course, donate if you feel moved to, right?
Yes, please do. Especially right now, like so many other resources out there, we need the love more than ever. But, yeah, absolutely. There's opportunities to do that online. We also have a wicked merch store that includes like this shirt, other groovy things. So, but yeah, please do tune in. You really almost can't go wrong. You can check out the programming schedule to see when something you might like is, and yeah, check it out. It's a lot of fun.
Awesome. And then they'll be able to hear you this fall, which is not that far away. So,
yeah. No kidding.
Right?
Right.
Well, until later, thank you, Kate.
Thank you so much.